You know this feeling. You make a change in an app, it clearly says saved, but when you go back later, it's just gone. It's so frustrating, and it feels like you did something wrong. But you didn't. Let's get into exactly why this happens.
All right, so let's set the scene. You're on a plane, or maybe deep in a subway tunnel. Basically, you're totally offline. No Wi-Fi, no cell service.
You pull out your phone to make a quick but important edit. You add a task to your to-do list, jot down a note, or fix a typo in a document.
And the second you do it, the app gives you that nice, reassuring confirmation. You see a little message pop up.
And it says, changes saved. So you think, great, done. You trust it. Saved means it's safe, right? So you close the app and you don't think about it again. But then, a little while later, you realize that what you expected to happen, well, it didn't.
So maybe you're back at home or in the office. You've got a great internet connection. You open that same app, expecting to see the change you made earlier.
And it's just not there. The typo is back. The note is the old version. It is exactly as if you never made the edit in the first place. So what is going on here? The app told you it was saved. Where did your data actually go? Look, this isn't your fault. It's a disconnect between how we think an app should work and how it's actually designed to work.
To figure out this little mystery, we have to understand that your data doesn't just live in one place.
We tend to think of our document, or our note, as a single thing, but in most modern cloud-based apps, that's just not the case. There are actually two distinct copies of your data that the app is constantly juggling.
The first one is the local copy. You can think of this as a temporary scratch pad or a cache right there on your phone or computer. When you were offline and the app said saved, this is what it meant. It saved a change to this temporary, local version.
The second one is the server copy. Now, this is the official, permanent version of your data. It lives on a remote server, out in the cloud. This is the master copy, the real source of truth.
So let's be super clear about this. The change was saved, but only to the temporary copy on your device. The app's plan is to eventually send that change over the internet to update the permanent server copy. But that's the step where things can and do go wrong.
Okay, so that moment when your device comes back online, that's when the app has to try and make these two different versions of your data match up.
As soon as you get back on the internet, the app is supposed to kick off a process called syncing. It's basically supposed to say, hey, I have a local change here. Let me send it up to the server to make the official copy match.
But here it is. This is the exact point of failure. You made your edit offline, saw saved, and then you closed the app. Maybe you just swiped it away to close it. By doing that, you interrupted the whole process before that sync could even start.
So when you open the app again later, now with an internet connection, this system has a problem. It sees the official permanent version on the server, and it knows there's this leftover unsynced change from a previous session on your device. So which one is right?
The app doesn't try to read your mind or guess what you want it to do. It just falls back to a very simple, very strict rule that it's been programmed to follow.
And this rule is all about keeping the system stable and preventing errors. It prioritizes that over trying to save one little piece of data from an interrupted session.
Here's the actual rule taken from the documentation that explains this exact situation. It says, transactions are not persisted across app restarts. Okay, what that really means in plain English is any unsynced changes are just thrown away when you close and reopen the app. The temporary change only existed in that one session you closed.
And this is a really common software trade-off. The system gains stability. It avoids the risk of getting confused or corrupting your data by trying to merge in old leftover changes. But the cost of that stability is that your unsynced edit, well, it gets lost.
So now we can finally connect all the dots and see why that initial experience feels so wrong, even though the system is working exactly as it was designed to.
Let's just walk through it one last time. Step 1, the app told you saved, and it wasn't lying. Step 2, it meant it saved it to that temporary, local copy. Step 3, our intuition just assumes there's one save, that it's a permanent, final action. But step 4, the system is actually dealing with two separate saves. That difference between our expectation and the system's reality, that's the whole problem. So the saved message was true, but it was incomplete. And because the app was fully closed before it got a chance to sync that local save to the server, its safety rule kicked in and discarded the temporary change. And that is why, when you came back later, your edit had vanished.